Hi, I am Professor Diaz Pichardo. This is session 5 of the course Advanced Strategy. The topic of the session is Internationalization Strategies and Process. The objectives of the session are: analyze the suitability of multi-local and global business strategies, recognize the importance of creating a convenient portfolio of countries in the internationalization process of a company, and explain the Uppsala model in the internationalization process. Internationalization is the process of expanding companies' activities into foreign countries. Those activities include not only selling their products abroad, but also the procurement and complementarity activities. Should the company become international? Companies internationalize because of several reasons. The GIBS model proposes that these reasons can be classified into 4 categories: market, cost, government, and competitive drivers. Even if the main reason is usually to achieve growth, competitive issues frequently force companies to go abroad, such as learning and arbitrage. Also, the need to reduce costs and profit on trade policies are important. Globalization is the process by which products and services, capital, information, and people can move freely across borders. Comparative advantages are strengths that countries have as a result of specialization. Countries that are more efficient in producing wine, for instance, can obtain benefits by dedicating more national resources to this industry and then exporting the wine that is not consumed in the national market to obtain additional incomes to buy other products from foreign markets. Here we observe recent milestones in globalization. Most of them are related to international trade agreements to favor globalization. However, in the last years we have also observed a few moves against globalization, such as the Brexit and the Trump's wall in the Mexico-US border. Global connectedness is a term to describe how globalized is the world and how connected a particular country is. Depth refers to the country's international flows in comparison to the sizes of the domestic economies. Breadth reflects how the international flows of countries are dispersed across the world. It has been observed that international interactions are significantly less intense than domestic interactions, and that international trade is mostly done among countries that are close to each other. Currently, even if global connectedness reached a peak in 2017, most business people believe the world is more globalized than it really is. Some countries raise barriers to avoid specific threats, such as foreign takeovers and immigration. While Europe leads on trade and people flows, North America is the top region for information and capital flows. Clearly, emerging economies are less connected than developed economies, increasing inequalities. This slide shows factors pushing forward globalization. They reduce barriers for trade, homogenize the preferences of consumers in favor of standardization, reduce transport costs, or put pressure to induce integration and coordination across countries. Now, we observe the factors against globalization. They favor local or multi-local strategies. They are related to protect the national culture and taste, impose countries to imports because of technical standards, customize services and response, or force companies to comply with local regulations because of competitive issues or as a matter of national security. We say that a company has a global strategy when it competes in the key markets of the world according to the particular industry, and when it highly coordinates its activities across borders. Companies competing in a global industry require a global strategy. The global multi-local mapping shows different possibilities according to the pressures they suffer for global or local adaptation. Global pressures are important in industries in which what matters is efficiency, speed, arbitrage, and learning. That is the case of the civil aircraft or the microprocessors industries. Local pressures are important in industries that require flexibility, proximity, and quick response. That is the case of retail banking and food retail. Local industries are those industries suffering both global and local pressures. That is the case of the automotive and corporate banking industries. Companies should deploy a strategy according to the nature of the corresponding industry. Global strategies are suitable when product standardization is required and when strategy integration across countries is needed. Multi-local strategies are suitable when the business must be adapted to every particular country. International strategies require selecting countries carefully. This slide shows different strategy tools we have for this purpose. After selecting the countries, entry timing and mode will be decided. We observe different levels of analysis. The microanalysis is referred to the company. Based on the strategic positioning and objectives, the company selects a group of countries. That is the portfolio of countries. At the level of the firm, we also have the green analysis to identify the relevant resources the company has to enter a particular country. At the industry level, we have the 5 forces model to evaluate the attractiveness of the industry in the given country. And at the macro level, we have different tools to assess countries' attractiveness: the PESTEL, the CAGE, and the country's risk assessment. What is important in selecting countries is that every country has a role to play in the international strategy. This role depends on the strategic opportunities they offer and the comparative advantages they have. We can identify different types of countries. Key countries that are critical for the particular industry. Platform countries that allow the company to enter a particular region mainly because of their logistics advantages. Emerging countries, attractive because of their size and growth. Marketing countries, enough attractive to sell our products there, but not too much as to invest significant resources. And sourcing countries from which we can obtain raw materials or a manufacturing base. This table shows some macro indicators that can be used as a first stage to select countries. The relevancy of each indicator would depend on the role of the country in the international strategy. For instance, resourcing countries can be more attractive if they have good transport infrastructure. Key countries usually have good research and development facilities as well as education levels. The CAGE framework is based on the fact that international flows are concentrated among countries that are geographically close or share similarities in terms of culture, administrative traditions, and wealth. Another important aspect to evaluate is risk. This slide shows that risk must be assessed in terms of political issues, operational constraints, competitive risks such as corruption, and economic risks such as inflation and recession. The combination of these factors is the basis for country selection, entry timing, and mode. To end this session, we have the Uppsala model. It aims to explain the internationalization process of a company. In general, it proposes that companies start with some market knowledge about the foreign country, and then it leads to market commitment, maybe in the form of exports. Then this experience increases the market knowledge that in turn leads to a greater commitment or investment, like establishing a marketing subsidiary, and so on. In this table, we observe different entry modes from a lower investment to a greater investment. Countries are written in the first column, closer countries first, distant countries later. In general, we expect to observe the trend in the internationalization process as indicated by the arrows. With time, companies increase market knowledge and commitment or investment, and increase also distance and diversification. Usually, companies start internationalizing to countries that are close, and then enter countries that are more distant. Some exceptions to the Uppsala model include large firms that can take larger steps, companies in stable markets that can obtain market knowledge in different forms, firms that can generalize their experience to similar markets, and born global companies.